So, I don't even know how to explain this without sounding crazy, but here we go. I was home alone last weekend, just having one of those lazy nights where you throw on a comfort show you've seen a million times. You know, something easy, where you don't really have to pay attention. For me, it was Friends. I've seen every episode at least 3 times, so I was mostly scrolling on my phone while it played in the background. Anyway, I'm half watching this one episode, and all of a sudden I get this weird feeling like, I don't know, like something's off. I glance up at the screen, and out of the corner of my eye, I swear I see someone standing in the background. Some guy just standing there. It was in this scene at Central Perk, the usual setup. Rachel's behind the counter, Joey and Chandler are on the couch, but in the far back, near the window, there's this tall, dark figure. Just standing there. Now, I've seen this episode a dozen times, and I swear to God, it's that man wasn't there before. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe some random extra I never noticed, but it bothered me enough that I grabbed the remote and rewound the scene. And, yeah, there he was, barely visible. Just a shadow of a man. Slightly out of focus, too far back to see his face. He wasn't doing anything, not talking or moving, just standing perfectly still, facing the camera. Okay, kind of weird, but whatever, right? Maybe I just never paid attention before. So I let it go. For a little while. So I let it go. At least I tried to, but once you notice something like that, you start looking for it. The next night, I was watching a totally different episode. I wasn't even thinking about the weird guy at first. I had convinced myself it was just some extra I'd never noticed before. But then, as I was watching, there he was again. Same position, same dark clothing, still just standing there. This time, he was in the background of an entirely different setting, Monica's apartment. No reason for anyone to be standing in that spot, not during that scene, and yet, there he was. Okay, that was weird. I paused the screen and stared at him. The more I looked, the more something felt wrong. He wasn't blurry this time. He was still kind of in the shadows, but I could see more detail. He was tall, thin, and his face, or lack of one, was just off. Like there should have been features, but they were just missing. Or maybe they were blurred out somehow? I don't know how to explain it. At this point, I started to feel uneasy. Like that creeping, skin-crawling kind of unease where your body picks up on something before your brain can fully process it. I told myself I was just imagining things. Some weird trick of the mind. Maybe I was just overly tired. So I changed the show. Something completely different. Something totally unrelated. I put on The Office, and guess what? He was there too. I swear to God, I almost threw my remote across the room. It wasn't just Friends. He was in The Office now, standing in the background of a conference room scene. Same shadowy figure, same blank stare. Now I was officially freaked out. I grabbed my phone and took a picture of the screen. I zoomed in, expecting to see some kind of normal face, maybe recognize an actor I had just never noticed before. But when I looked closer, my stomach dropped. He wasn't just in the background. He wasn't just standing there. He was looking directly at the camera, like full on, straight at the lens. No other character in the scene was looking at the camera, but he was. And then I realized something even worse. It felt like he was looking at me. I needed confirmation. I sent the picture to my best friend, Emily. "Hey, do you see anything weird in this scene?" She responded almost immediately. "What am I supposed to be looking at?" I stared at my phone. How could she not see him? I called her. "Dude, look at the guy in the background by the blinds. You seriously don't see him?" She sounded genuinely confused. "There's no one there." I stared back at the image on my phone. He was still there. That was the moment I realized. Whatever this was, it was only for me. So now I was sitting there, heart pounding, just staring at my phone. My best friend, someone I trust with my life, was telling me there was no one there, but I was looking right at him. I swallowed hard and took a deep breath, trying to convince myself I was just seeing things. Maybe it was a smudge on the screen, maybe some weird glitch with the lighting in the scene. Maybe I was just tired as hell and my brain was playing tricks on me, but my gut was screaming at me that none of that was true. I had to be sure. So I pulled up another episode, one I hadn't watched yet during all of this. A random one, from later in the series. I hit play and forced myself to sit there and watch, scanning every inch of the screen. Nothing at first. A whole 10 minutes went by, and I started to feel ridiculous. Maybe I'd just gotten in my own head. But then, there he was. Same exact spot in the background. Same exact clothes, same exact blank stare. Like he'd just been waiting for me to notice him again. I took another picture, then another, then I went back and compared them to the first ones. Identical. Not just similar, identical. Same posture, same expression, or lack of one. It wasn't a normal extra in the background. Extras don't appear in multiple shows wearing the same thing, standing in the exact same way. I felt sick. I tried Googling it, searching for anything about a weird background figure in Friends or The Office, or even TV Easter eggs that might explain this. Nothing. No forums, no Reddit posts, no conspiracy theories, not a single mention of him anywhere. And that's when it hit me. Whatever this was, it wasn't part of the show. At this point, I was done. I turned off the TV and sat there, phone in hand, just breathing. My apartment felt different. Off. Like the air was thicker or the silence was heavier than it should have been. I tried to shake it off. I wasn't going to let my brain psych me out over some weird glitch or whatever the hell this was. But then, the TV turned back on by itself. I swear on my life, the remote was across the room. No one else was home. The screen flickered to life, but instead of the show I'd been watching, it was just static. And then, through the crackling, a whisper. It was so faint, I almost thought I imagined it. But the second time, I heard it, clearly. You see me now. At that point, I ran. I didn't even grab my phone charger, I just snatched my keys and got the hell out of my apartment. I drove straight to Emily's place, shaking the whole way. When she opened the door, I must have looked insane because she immediately went, "What the hell happened?" I told her everything, every weird detail. She stared at me for a second, then did what any normal person would do, told me to pull up the pictures I took. I opened my camera roll, scrolled to the first one. He was gone. I mean gone. Like the photos were still there, but the background? Empty. No shadowy figure, no blurred-out man standing in the back. Nothing. I felt like I was going to throw up. Emily just looked at me totally serious. "Babe, you need to sleep." But I knew it wasn't just in my head. I knew what I saw. And I knew, somehow, he was still watching me. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Even after Emily tried to convince me I was imagining things, I knew what I saw. And even worse, I knew he was real. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went home, locked every door, turned every single light on, and started recording. At first, I thought maybe it was some weird streaming glitch, so I switched to physical DVDs. Didn't matter. He was still there. I tried different genres. Didn't matter. He was still there. I put on a nature documentary, something that had no reason to have peoples in it, and I swear to God, he was standing in the distance behind a herd of elephants. At that point, I lost it. I started frantically flipping through channels, switching between live TV, news, commercials, and there he was, every single time. Not always in the same place, sometimes far in the background, sometimes right up front, just slightly out of focus. But he was always there, always watching, always waiting. I became obsessed. I started pausing the screen over and over, zooming in, taking screenshots, looking for anything that could explain him. And then, one night, it happened. I was watching a random horror movie, one I had never seen before. I was pausing frame by frame, looking for him, scanning the edges of the screen like I had been for weeks. And then, I found him. Standing in a doorway, half in shadow, barely visible. I zoomed in, same posture, same hollow presence, the same blank, empty stare. But this time I didn't look away. This time I stared back. And that's when he moved. It was so slow, so subtle at first, that I almost missed it. His head tilted, just slightly, like he was acknowledging me. I stopped breathing. My hands clenched around my phone so hard my knuckles went white. And then, he turned. Not in the scene, not as part of the movie. He turned to face me. Not the camera. Me. His face was still empty, still a wrong, but somehow I knew. He was waiting for me to notice. And now I think he knows. I see him. I don't know how long I sat there staring at the screen. Maybe seconds, maybe minutes. All I know is that my entire body felt frozen, like my brain was refusing to process what I was seeing, because he wasn't just standing there anymore, he was facing me. I could feel it, this horrible, gut-wrenching certainty that whatever this thing was, it wasn't just part of the background anymore. It wasn't some weird trick of the light, or a shadow, or a glitch. It was real, and it was looking at me. I swear to God, I could feel my skin tighten, every hair on my arms standing up like static electricity was running through me. My throat went dry. My fingers dug into the couch cushion. I wanted to move. I needed to move, but my body wasn't cooperating. My chest was tight and my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then, just when I thought my nerves couldn't get any worse, he took a step forward. Not in the movie, not as part of some pre-recorded scene. He moved on his own. I flinched so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The image on the screen was shifting, distorting slightly, like an old VHS tape with bad tracking. The edges of his form wavered, but his face, or the lack of one, was crystal clear. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt something change in that moment. Like the air in the room got heavier, thicker. My ears started ringing, this high-pitched whine that made my teeth hurt. And my TV screen, it wasn't just showing the movie anymore, it was watching me back. I forced myself to blink, forced myself to look away. Because some deep, primal part of me was screaming that if I kept staring, if I acknowledged him for too long, something really bad was going to happen. I scrambled off the couch, nearly tripping over my own feet, and slammed the TV off. The second the screen went black, the ringing in my ears stopped. The pressure in the room lightened. Just a little, but my heart was still hammering against my ribs like I had just escaped a goddamn bear attack. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at my own reflection in the dark screen. Nothing. Just me, just my apartment. But I didn't feel alone. I grabbed my phone and took another picture of the TV. I don't know why. Maybe to prove to myself that it was over, that he was gone, that I was just losing my mind. I opened my camera roll, and there he was, not on the TV, behind me. I swear to fucking God, my entire body went ice cold. My vision tunneled, my stomach dropped, and I felt this absolute pure sense of dread flood my veins. Because it wasn't just a shadow. It wasn't some blurry background figure anymore. He was close. Too close, and worse. His head was still tilted, that same unnatural angle, like he was listening. Like he was waiting. I spun around so fast I nearly knocked over the lamp. There was nothing there. Nothing. But I wasn't convinced. I started flipping on every damn light in my apartment, yanking open closet doors, checking behind furniture, looking under my bed like I was 5 years old again, terrified of the monster lurking underneath. I was losing it. I had to be losing it. I told myself to calm down. Breathe. I made myself sit back down on the couch, phone clutched in my shaking hands, and forced my brain to think logically. Okay. All right. Let's say this is just my mind playing tricks on me. Let's say I've been staring at screens too long, getting paranoid, seeing things that aren't there. That would make sense. I've barely been sleeping. I've been obsessing over this. My brain could just be glitching out, right? But then I looked at the photo again, and I swear to God he was closer than before. I fucking deleted it, closed my phone, threw it across the couch, and just sat there, hands gripping my face, trying to think of something, anything, that made sense. And then, from the corner of the room, the TV turned back on, static. No remote near me, no timer set, no goddamn reason for it to turn on by itself. I held my breath, and through the white noise, I heard it again, the whisper, low, crackling, distorted. You see me now? I jumped to my feet so fast I nearly tripped. My whole body was on fire with adrenaline, panic, terror. Nope. No fucking pee. I was not doing this. I grabbed my keys, my phone, fuck my charger, fuck my shoes, fuck everything, and bolted out the door. I didn't stop until I was in my car, doors locked, engine running, gas pedal floored. I didn't know where I was going, I just needed to get out. But as I glanced in my rearview mirror, for just a second I saw movement in my back seat, and then I woke up, gasping, soaked in sweat. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. My sheets were tangled around me like I'd been thrashing in my sleep. I sat up, still panting, trying to shake off the dream. Because that's all it was, right? A dream, a nightmare, my brain twisting all the stress and paranoia into something horrific. But then I noticed something. My TV was on. That static-filled glow pulsed in the darkness of my apartment, washing the room in this eerie, flickering light. It felt alive. Like the static wasn't just random noise, but something breathing, shifting, watching. My stomach twisted as I forced myself to sit up, my muscles stiff, my limbs heavy. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I swallowed hard and turned toward the screen. At first it was just white noise, a mess of black and white pixels buzzing and hissing, but then it changed. A shadow. In the middle of the static, barely visible. A figure. My skin crawled. It wasn't like before. He wasn't in the background of some sitcom, some film, lurking behind actors who couldn't see him. Number this time. He was front and center, and he was closer. I fumbled for the remote, my fingers trembling so badly that I nearly dropped it. I mashed the power button. Nothing. I hit it again. Nothing. The static kept rolling, warping, shifting, and then the whispering started. It was faint at first, buried beneath the white noise, but I heard it. A soft, crackling murmur, like a voice trying to push through the interference. My ears strained to make out words, my brain struggling to process what it was saying. See me now. My breath hitched. My whole body turned to ice. I squeezed my eyes shut and shook my head, as if that would somehow make it all go away. When I opened them again, he had moved closer. He was still a shadow, still blurred, but I could make out his eyes now. Or at least the void where they should have been. Empty. Dark. I scrambled out of bed, knocking over a lamp in my panic. My foot caught in the sheets and I stumbled hard onto the floor, pain jolting through my knee. But I didn't care. I needed to get out. I needed to move. I needed to run. But the second I got to my feet, the whispering stopped. The static on the TV cut out completely, plunging the room into deep, suffocating silence. The kind that makes your ears ring, like the universe itself is holding its breath. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My whole body was on edge, every nerve screaming at me that something was very, very wrong. Then, the screen flickered. Just once. A flash of something so quick I barely registered it. But my gut knew. It was him. I backed up, one step at a time, not daring to turn my back to the TV. My phone was across the room, sitting on my nightstand, but I wasn't about to take my eyes off the screen to grab it. The screen flickered again, and this time he wasn't just standing there. He was moving. Slow. Uneven. Like an old film reel skipping frames. But he was getting closer. I swear to God I heard something shift behind me. A creak, a whisper of movement. The hair on my neck stood straight up, every instinct in my body screaming that I needed to run. But I couldn't, because in that moment I knew. If I ran, he'd chase me. If I turned my back, he'd be there. The screen flickered again. He was at the edge of the frame now, too close. My chest was tight. My pulse was deafening in my ears. The air in the room felt thick, pressing down on me like a weight. My fingers curled into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms as I forced myself to breathe. The static warped, shifting. His form twisted, flickering between the screen and something else. And then he spoke, not a whisper this time, not buried beneath the static. Clear, director, right in my fucking ear. Let me in. My vision blurred. My body locked up. Every part of me screamed to run, run, fucking run. But I didn't. I did the only thing I could think of. The only thing that felt right. I squeezed my eyes shut, and I unplugged the TV. Silence. No static, no whispers, no movement. I stood there, heart hammering, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Nothing did. When I finally cracked my eyes open, the screen was black. The room was still. Empty. I exhaled, shaking so hard my knees nearly buckled. My fingers were numb, my skin ice cold. But I was alive, and he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I barely moved. Just sat there, phone clutched in my hand, staring at the unplugged TV like it might turn itself back on at any second. It didn't. The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I haven't been back since. I don't know what I saw. I don't know what he was. I don't know why I was the one who could see him, why he followed me through every screen, every show, every frame. And I don't know what would have happened if I had let him in. I don't want to know, but sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I swear to God, I still hear the static, and when I close my eyes, I feel him watching.